Broadcasting from the basement of La Penta, this is WICR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe back here. And I think last year, for the first time, I can honestly say I enjoyed the college football season more than the NFL season. And I think it all kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the top of the show. It's kind of like with the home run derby in baseball. You have to be willing to be progressive. You have to be willing to change and adapt and to listen to what the people want to see. And obviously last year with the college football playoff, with the Final Four, with the format, they finally got it right. Now, is there room to improve? Yes. But I think that's what we all wanted, and it was a heck of a lot of fun. I think we enjoyed every minute. We didn't get a bad matchup in the playoff. It was incredible. And now, obviously, we're all kind of scanning who we think is going to be back in that Final Four. And for me, the Auburn Tigers, the War Eagles of Auburn, certainly are going to be in one of my picks to be in that Final Four. And I think last year I did have them in that Final Four as well. Obviously, they were in the national championship and lost to Florida State, so I did think they were going to make it back there and be in that college football playoff, but things kind of fell apart. Obviously, the biggest being is how atrocious they were defensively. I mean, they were just awful and so many exposed in so many positions, and I think it all kind of came into fruition with the Alabama, the Iron Bowl. They were up in that game, and that defense just, oh my goodness, it was almost unwatchable at times this year. And the offense had its moments too where it sputtered and it kind of was down, but obviously the crux of the Auburn Tigers last year was the defense, and I think Will Muschamp, the biggest thing, I mean, look, the second that Alabama game was in the third quarter, if I'm Auburn, I would have picked up the phone and called him, but they got it right. They got Will Muschamp. He's on their staff. You got Gus Malzahn. He can worry about what he has to on the offensive side. We all know what he can do, and then Will Muschamp, he'll do what he does, and he will make them a better defensive unit, and I think collectively for Auburn, they're better almost everywhere in all the areas that they had weaknesses in last year. Defensively, there's no question with the way that they've recruited and just bringing in presence more than anything has an impact in college football, maybe more so than the NFL. I think recruiting is half the battle in college football, and then having a guy who can coach up those recruits is also more important than anything. And Will Muschamp, his presence, the way that he connects with his players, I've always been a big fan of what Will Muschamp brings to the table. I think he's a guy who the players really always can rally behind. He's a guy who doesn't make excuses, and that's more than anything is something I really like. He will make that Auburn defense much, much better. And in an Auburn that is in an SEC that is becoming more and more increasingly just ground and pound, rough, tough, physical, we're seeing more and more of an effort to throw the football. I think he's going to coming in at the exact right time for Auburn, and especially more than anywhere, the place you have to look is at quarterback for the Auburn Tigers, Jeremy Johnson. Now, last year, in the last 2 years with Nick Marshall, I give Nick Marshall a lot of credit because he really was a textbook definition of one-trick pony, really a guy who just couldn't throw the football for a lick. But you give him credit because he put in the work. His work ethic was there because he did in year 2 become a much better passer under Gus Malzahn's system. Now, it was never going to take your breath away, really shatter your mind, but he did become a much more proficient passer year 2 in Gus Malzahn's system. And I think Jeremy Johnson comes in year 2, and I think he's already a better passer than Nick Marshall ever was. I mean, he is a physical specimen. I mean, he's got a cannon of an arm, can really get the ball down the field. He's got tremendous athleticism, can move. I think if I had to compare him to somebody, you've got to do it with the guy who's coming off the national championship, obviously, in Cardale Jones. I think they really are similar. Maybe Cardale's a little bit bigger, but I mean, when Jeremy Johnson is running around, I mean, taking him down. You saw what Cardale Jones just almost people were just bouncing off of him like bowling pins. I mean, I think with Jeremy Johnson, it's going to be much of the same with the way that he plays. And more than anything, I mean, I think the thing that is going to allow Gus Malzahn to be even more creative and to do even more things. It's just how much help having a passing quarterback is going to be for him, because I think Gus was kind of limited in what he could do, because again, he's going to use his players in the skill sets that they have to be based around his offense. And Nick Marshall never was an effective enough passer to give him a little bit more freedom in the play calling and to design the plays that he wanted to. I think now that he's got a guy like Jeremy Johnson with a cannon arm and who can throw the ball accurately, I don't think there's any question that that's going to make him be even more creative with his play calling, be even more dangerous in his play calling, because look, I don't think that it's kind of a whiff. Gus Malzahn is a guy who just thinks outside the box when it comes to designing offenses, calling plays. I think he's really a master in that regard. Look, he did it with Cam Newton in Auburn when he was the offensive coordinator. He left there for Western Kentucky. He came back, and we've seen what Gus can do. His offense is going to put up a lot of numbers. His running backs are going to get a lot of yards, but now he's got a quarterback who is competent and can really and truly be a passer, and I think that is going to open up so many possibilities for this Auburn Tigers team. Now, obviously, here's the tough thing if you're a War Eagle fan. The SEC is brutal, and I mean, especially in the SEC West that they play in, that is about as tough as it gets, and a lot of these teams in the SEC are getting much and much better, and the schedule is going to be very tough, but I think the thing for Auburn that's going to help them is I don't think Alabama is going to pose as much of a threat to them as they have in the past. Obviously, Alabama is going to be right there with everyone, but I think the biggest thing for Auburn, and it's something that in big games I don't know if you could always trust, was just, look, I like Nick Marshall, I like what he did, but I don't think that I ever fully had that confidence when I really needed a game-winning drive. And look, the thing that essentially separates Gus Malzahn and Jimbo Fisher from having national championships 2 years ago is Jimbo Fisher had a big, strong-arm quarterback who could move the ball down the field in a hurry by throwing the football. Gus Malzahn did not. Gus Malzahn had a quarterback who had to take his time, had to really use up a lot of time with the running backs, work his way down the field, couldn't do it quick enough. Now he has that. He has a strong-arm quarterback who can get the ball down the field in a hurry. That's something that he's never had before. And if you're an Auburn fan, I think that's something that you've got to be tremendously excited about. I can't wait to see what Gus Malzahn does with this new offense. I mean, really just almost want to jump out of the chair right now thinking about it, because watch it. Look, I mean, some people are junkies when it comes to stuff like this, but I just love watching creativity, calling plays. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I think Ohio State was so much fun to watch offensively last year. Todd Herman was an outstanding play caller. I mean, the way that he designed his offensive plays, the ways that his offense executed his offensive plays was so much fun to watch. It's the reason why Oregon is so much fun to watch. It's about running these offensive skillfully, doing it efficiently, and just doing it well. And I think Auburn, more than anyone, does that extraordinarily well. And now that you've got a big-arm quarterback, the possibilities of what you can do are endless. I have Auburn in the Final Four. I haven't really done all of the Final Four and worked out who I think is going to win at the end of the day. But look, Auburn to me has as much a chance as anybody to win it all and to hold up that trophy at the end of the day, because when you have, if their defense is as improved as I think it will be under Will Muschamp, and if their offense in Jeremy Johnson becomes what I think he can be with his strong arm, with his athleticism, with what Gus Malzahn has done building offenses, I don't think there's any question that Auburn can win the national title, and it's going to be more difficult than some of these other programs who will have a little bit of an easier road. Even Ohio State, who I think will win. If I was a betting man and I had to put a bet in tomorrow, I bet on Ohio State to win it all again next year, obviously, because Urban Meyer is just the best coach in college football. Urban Meyer has 3 quarterbacks who could be starters for any other program in the country. They're returning Ezekiel Elliott and almost all their other important starters. I think I would pick Ohio State. But if I had to pick anybody else to win the national championship after Ohio State right now, I think it would probably be the War Eagles. I mean, I just think defensively, Jeremy Johnson, Gus Malzahn, it's all working. I'm up against the clock right now, so I'm going to get to the next segment. But good stuff. College Football Corner, it is going to be back, and college football is just, it cannot be denied. It's just incredible stuff right now. But the War Eagles, things certainly looking up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.